YouTube faithful, what's going on? It is Monday. We have a football game tonight. We have a showdown slate. Houston Texans versus the poverty Cowboys that are in shambles. Lamb may not play. They don't have Dak Prescott. We're looking at a potential blowout of epic proportions, but you never know. Look at last night's game, for example. It looked like a blowout, and then it came back, and then it turned it out to be a cash fest. My only regret is that I didn't hammer it more. But we had already had a good day in the early window of NFL, which I will discuss. But for this video, I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. I know you guys missed me over the weekend. I had a lot of stuff to do. Sorry, no video Friday or Saturday. I did have an NFL video planned, but I didn't end up posting it because by the time y'all saw it, it would have just been too late. And that's unfortunate because everything just smashed. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it has been a heck of a run. Let's see if we can continue that run. We've been going like 4 of 4, 4 of 5, 3 of 4, usually only off by one leg. We had a couple of community slip bangers. 4 of 6, 5 of 6, 5 of 5 on, what was that, Friday or Saturday night? The community slip went 5 of 5 that they built while I was at the concert. I mean, it's all been hitting, Chief. So without further ado, if you're new to the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave your boy a comment. Let me know. I appreciate you stopping by. You can count on me to give you all your PrizePicks, fantasy goodness, underdog, all of them. All the fantasy sports operators, I cover it and I do it well. And I normally try to teach you about the process. And here we go. Right out of the gate, the first thing that I'm going to do is cover the poverty NBA slate today, and that is because I have transitioned over to fantasy scores because everyone seems to like that the most, but as always, I will give you an alternative. And the first one that I want to talk about is Giannis, the Greek fraud? Question mark? No, he's the Greek freak cap. Yeah, I know, but let's just call him the Greek fraud because if he doesn't hit 54.5 fantasy score tonight, he's going to be on the fraud list. He's playing the Houston Rockets. You don't get more poverty than that. So the first thing we're going to do before I break this thing down, we're going to go over to DG. We're going to type in his name and we're going to see what we got. Giannis Antetokounmpo, over 54.5 fantasy score. You could see DraftKings sums it up to 55, MGM to 55, Bovada 55. My own personal data model puts it around 57. So we're looking at roughly a 2.5 to 3 point differential. You can see his points at 29.5 is being a little bit juiced over in our favor. It's 30.5 on some books, 29.5 on PrizePicks, 29.5 on Pinnacle. You can see his first quarter at 8, his points, rebounds. Remember, Giannis just put up like 100 fantasy points the other day. Never forget of what he is capable of. He can do that anytime he's on the court. The other thing you're going to want to check for is obviously, comment guy, the point spread. And you can see they're only 3.5 point favorites and it's a 223.5 point total. We must have exposure to this game. Whether you wanted to take Dame Time Lillard at 23.5 real points or Giannis's fantasy skill, I wouldn't begrudge you a bit either way. Now let's talk about the rest. Well, here we go. I got my little handy dandy sheet that gives me the fantasy point per minute and their usage rate. So let's go ahead and you can see Giannis is at the top of the list. Okay, he's averaging 35 minutes a game. His usage rate is 35%, 0.8. Let's just call it 36%. That means every time the game is running, Giannis is going to have the rock, the ball in his hand 36% of the time, which means he has a higher chance of scoring fantasy points. Also turning it over, which is negative fantasy score. But 36% of the time, the man's got the ball in his hands. Averaging 35 minutes. He's averaging 60 fantasy score. It's a close spread. It's a great point total. And now we have the king daddy of them all, the fantasy point per minute, 1.69. We're going to call it 1.7. So we got his average minutes at 35. His fantasy point per minute, 1.7. Now let's go do some math. You ready for this, comment guy? 1.7 multiplied times 35. Bazinga! You get 59.5, which is putting us roughly at a 5-point differential. So with that in mind, we're going to do one last thing and we're going to go check the individual matchup, which is already baked into my data model. It's already baked into the line, but just so you guys, you visual learners, can see it, I'm going to go ahead and do the Lord's work right here live and in person. By the way, if you somehow think this game is going to blow out, you could take his first half fantasy score because he's an absolute wagon. 7 of 10, 70%, 37, 41, 43, etc. You want to find range of outcomes, okay? So if you could see 32, 34, question marks, 35, 30, you want to try to find his range of outcomes. he's pretty much getting 30 to 40 fantasy points per half on average, okay? That's not an exact science. Now, if you go look at the head-to-head data, which couldn't mean less than a hill of beans, you could see that he did play them last season on January 6th, and he dropped a 72 fantasy point burger in a losing effort. Now, that means next to nothing for me in 2024. But again, we're looking for range of outcomes, okay? So we could see, let's find his floor. Okay, his floor, 44, 46. Okay, so his floor is 44. His ceiling, 98. Like, that's 100. Okay, 98 rounds to 100, comment, guys. So let's just say it's a comment. Now, that's a wide range of outcomes. That's not realistic. This is an outlier game, but so is 44. So let's just be conservative and say his true floor, if you average it, is probably going to be a 50 piece. So on average, he's going to get 50 fantasy points, right? Well, that ain't enough to green our slip, so we need 55, right? Well, now we see 60, 69, 55, 71, 98, 62, 55. We know that his ceiling, okay, is going to be, let's just be realistic and conservative. His ceiling is pretty much like 65 any given time. So between 50 to 65 fantasy score is going to be Giannis's range of outcomes on average. Okay, there's always going to be outliers and everything else, outliers, whatever you want to say, comment guy. It all comes down to this: minutes. Minutes equals money, okay? The more minutes he plays, as you can see, 38 minutes, 69 fantasy points. 39 minutes, and he only had 44. Outlier game. 39 minutes, 71. 43 minutes, 98. 33 minutes, 62. But that was the best matchup money can buy. So you want to factor all this stuff in, which I've already done for you with my data model projection. I showed you the market data, and I also showed you his fantasy point per minute at 1.7. You multiply it times 35, you get 59, which is a 5-point differential. So even if he only plays 33 minutes, he should still be greening most of the time, which leads us to the final conclusion of more. That's simple. Now, if you can't take fantasy scores because you're not on PrizePicks or whatever, you could pivot to his real points at 29.5. It is not a good matchup for power forwards against the Houston Rockets right now, but I will say this: it is a good matchup for Dame Time Lillard, but this was just at 23.5. Now it's at 24, and it is popular, unfortunately. But that would also be in the mix if you didn't want to get on Giannis. Pause. Nope, no pause. We're talking about ball here. You could take Damian Lillard at 23.5 if you could find it, and even his Gabby at 21.5 would be some type of crispy, because you're still getting a decent payout. Check it out. If you take Dame Lillard's Gabi and any random prop, you're getting 2.5x, which is crispy all day long. And it's a great matchup for point guards against the Houston Rockets. They're ranked 27th in points allowed to point guards, and on top of that, Dame Time Lillard is a wonderful shooter when he's on his game. So either one of those gents. And then the next NBA play that I'm going to give you is none other than Franz the German Wagner. We're going to go to the same thing, baby. We're going to go do the same exact thing we just did. We're going to do it again. 45 fantasy score, or he's Gabi points. Either one of those is fine. And again, you're getting the 2.5x because these gobbies are not floor gobbies. They're mid-range goblins, which is good. So if you mix, like say you took Dame Lillard and Franz Wagner, you're going to get more than your usual poverty gobby payout. You're going to get a little more bang for your buck, if you will. And we all know that we love to bang around here, don't we? Check it out. If you were to take these two gobbies, you're getting 2x. You can't beat that with a stick, comment guy. In fact, I might just nuke this. I literally might just put $1,000 on this, take my double up, and call it a day. I don't know if I will yet, but stay tuned. Be in that live stream today at 5:30 Central and find out if we're going to do it or not. I might even go crazy and put a 5K piece on it. Why not? Why not? YOLO. We might YOLO the Gabi. Can we find one more Gabi to YOLO? Maybe. Oh, you know what? I think I got it. We're going off script real quick. Actually, I never script these videos, but I'm going out of order here. Maybe we throw in Mixon's Gabi and then we do this. Maybe something like that and we get away with it. Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll talk about Mixon shortly. So those are my two favorite Gabis if you're going to go down the Gabi road, or even Giannis's points Gabi. But let's go back to Franz Wagner because we want to go back to step one. Remember, this is it. It's literally pattern and routine. Type in Franz, 45 fantasy score. There's only one market data available, 45.8. Nothing really there. Remember, with Franz right now, we are buying high, but the poverty Phoenix Suns don't scare anybody, man. I was just at that OKC game and we blew them out of the water. Booker had no points at halftime. Sure, anomaly game, they're not that bad, but still, Franz is on his bag right now. The man is booking and cooking and looking to get paid, and I'm going to ride this train until I'm forced off. Don't believe me? Check out this 31, 29, 32, 23, 27. The man has just been cooking. Granted, you could flip-flop and be like, well, Cap, he's due regression, and I wouldn't begrudge you a bit because technically he is due regression. But there's also an argument to be made to ride the train until you're forced off. So let's talk about his fantasy score, right? Okay, so we know we're getting decent odds. We're not in jeopardy of it bumping down. Let's go to my tool, my handy dandy sheet. Franz Wagner, 13 games played, averaging only 29 minutes. Now that average is low because of those 2 games where he didn't play more than the first half. He left early. Keep that in mind. His usage rate average is 29%. Let's just call it 30%. Remember, no Banchero in the mix, and he's averaging 38 fantasy points a game with a 1.3 fantasy point per minute. Now this is going to be even higher with Banchero off the court. This again is just an overall average. So let's go ahead and factor this in. He's going to play more than 29 minutes on average. He's going to play 35. So let's take 1.3 fantasy points per minute, multiply it times 35, and we get bang, 45.5, which is really close to 45, which means a lot could go wrong. We're probably going to need him to play 36 to 37 minutes. So let's go check one more thing before we transition over to the NFL. And what do I always say, class? Minutes equals money. He played 40 versus Philly, 36, 32, 28. But even in 32 minutes versus Charlotte, he still was able to put up 56. In 28 minutes versus the Wizards in a blowout, he was able to put 41. 32 minutes, he was able to drop 46. 39 minutes, he only put up 43. I mean, this is when Banchero was in the mix. Now it's the Franz Wagner show. But like I said, we are buying high. This is the highest he's ever going to be all season long. Now you can look down here. Franz Wagner has failed to exceed 45 fantasy score in 19 straight games on the road. But that's accounting for last season, Banchero in the mix, and not accounting for his ridiculous season usage this season. Now, like I said, his Gabi is better, and there was actually a better line for him at 32 points plus assists. It's moved up to 33. So either way, I like those fantasy scores. I showed you could take Franz and Dame and put them in a 2-man and get double up, double your trouble, a daily double with Gabis, if you will. And there's also a couple of other players on here that I like. It's all posted in the Discord already for you there. Go have a look. See, there's some other fantasy scores. PrizePicks is gatekeeping a lot of them right now, unfortunately for us. Pero I think Jalen Brunson, 44.5 fantasy score, is a good less candidate. The matchup couldn't be better for him. But to be honest, there's just different guys there that are just taking over. Karl Anthony Towns is pulling his weight hardcore. Josh Hart's throwing his hat in the ring. Mikal Bridges is getting it done. Brunson doesn't have to carry the team like he did before. So I will probably have some shares of this. Not that he can't get 45 fantasy score, because he absolutely can, but let's take a look-see. Jalen Brunson, he's averaging 34 minutes, 30% usage rate, 38 fantasy points, but only 1.12 fantasy points per minute this season over the course of 11 games. 1.12. So let's go to my handy dandy calculator and let's just pump this thing all the way up. Let's 1.12, and let's just say he plays 40 minutes tonight, which he ain't. You get 44.8. That's if he plays 40 minutes. And what's the line? 44.5. Likely they have a lot of equity to blow this team out. Washington's garbage, and they're on a back-to-back. I feel like if the Knicks lose to Washington, they should just hang it up, because it ain't hitting, Chief. So I think Brunson less is good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. We'll have to wait and see. And then one other less, because I'm on a roll here. Is Embiid in the mix, or did they pull him off? Is he not playing? Well, I took less on Embiid earlier. He's probably ruled out or something by now. But another goblin that I like is Jared McCain. This line's been moving all over the place. 20.5. I saw it as high as 22 at one point, but 17.5 seems okay. I think that is a good line for him. I think it's great. I don't like the matchup by any means, but I think it's hitting either way. He's a young gun, and he's hungry. So whenever that's the case, I want exposure to it. Now let's go over to NFL. But before I go over to NFL, let's talk about last night, baby. Yes, sir. We've been on a heater. Even though I haven't been on YouTube, I've been cooking live streams in the Discord, cooking the projection sheets, cooking it all. And right here, this was my main 4-man yesterday. Jacobs, Pickens. I didn't want to get greedy, so I took Pickens Gabi for this because they bumped his normal receiving yards at 70. It was 70 and it went to 73. We took his fantasy score, cashed that. We took his receptions, cashed that. And we took his Gabi in my main slip here. Jacobs, 88.5 rush receiving, sweat-free. Pickens, sweat-free virtually. Calvin Ridley made us earn it. Look at this. He covered by a yard. And then Hunter Henry, 36.5. That was sweat-free. This was the main four-man posted before Sunday lock. This was it. 8.5x. Cash it. Okay. Then I gave another three-man on the live stream. Henry, Brian Thomas, and George Pickens. Longest reception. Cash that as well. And then Sturdy mixed his props with props that I liked in the projection sheets, which is what you're supposed to do, and he fed the core to 25x on our live stream. St. Brown, Love, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Justin Jefferson, and the field goal combo, which I loved. Cash it for 25x. He hooked me up with some Starbies for his trouble. I think he made almost $2,000 last night between the 6-man and the 2-man and the 4-man. It was a beautiful thing, Donnie. And then my same game parlay for last night, we had Will Dissly push, Quentin Johnston cash, Ladd cash. Unfortunately, Norman Powell hooked because he shot 6 for 19. He missed a couple layups. He missed 3-pointers. It is what it is. I made another one where I took out Powell and put in Higgins, and that cashed. But again, like I said, 3 of 4. And then my main NFL slip, let me find it. I forgot to post all my winning slips yet again. But these are all these slips that you see here are also mine. These guys just posted it before I had a chance to. Nick's fantasy, Jennings fantasy, Williams rush yards. I told everyone on live stream, make these into 2 and 3-mans. The community didn't vote for it on the community voting. I loved these props. I told them to make it. They did. Cash it. He says, trust the process, ride the wave. Your day will come. It was one of those days. He's absolutely right. Shouts out Sturdy as well. I mean, he's not wrong, people. Dissly, Thomas, Henry. Mix and match the props that I give out, and you will be successful. Anchors and darts. One day can make your entire month. Faceless. Just a Degenerate. Iceberg. Chalk or Walk. Spartan did the same thing. Breaking down the props I liked into 2-mans. The field goal and Bo Nix fantasy. Bo Nix cooked. There was no way I was getting off Bo Nix yesterday. Puka, Adams, and Pickens. These were 3 of the 5-man that I put out. It was Pickens, Puka, Adams, Dissly, and Kels. Kels sold big league and Dissly pushed, so it was 1.5x, but he broke it down into smaller slips, which is what I preach to do, and he made money for his troubles. Untouchable says, all from the projection sheet. Pickens, Cole Kmet, Elijah Moore, you're welcome, cash it. Zay gets buckets. Been watering my grass lately. He's absolutely right. Cash it all, man. Just cash it all. And I'm going to spare you the rest because Discord's starting to act up. But this was my NBA slip from Saturday night. Collins, Brown, Huerter, Dellen Wright, and LaMelo Ball was the one thing. I went 4 for 5. I put out 5 props and I went 4 for 5. Period. The fantasy score king is her. This should have been green. It's 2x, whatever. We're going to get that 10x soon enough. So the projection sheets are under Captain's Daily News. NFL, bang. They look just like this. NBA, they're there. All of it's there. Make sure you're checking those each and every day before you make your lineups, and you can go to CaptainCrush.net. The gold package you will get in the Dub Club, which gives you access to the Discord where you can get access to all of it. You go right here, it's the gold package, and you go 1 month, $24.99. That'll get you in. The live stream will be today at 5:30 Central. They run 6 days a week unless there's some type of anomaly, which sometimes happens. Monday through Friday, and then Sunday morning before NFL, we build community lineups. I give you last minute props. I go over everything there. That is where the money is made. So now that we got that out of the way, we did our celebratory victory lap for the weekend. Let's talk about NFL tonight. Now, wherever you think this game's going to go, that is what you need to do. Script it how you like, script it how you live, and get in the mix. So if you think Dallas is going to get bulldozed, then you want to target Joe Mixon. The only downside to Joseph Mixon today is the fact that this right here, 121,000 degenerates are on Joe Mixon today, unfortunately. But I'm going to supersede that because I love it so much today that I'm not going to care about that because it's a same game parlay. Everything's going to be popular, but I do believe Mixon is hitting. Now what I did, which is what I hinted at earlier, I went 10 yards lower because even though I do think he's going to get fed, 90 rush yards is still a lot. Dallas defense can show up randomly. I could see it happening when everyone's on Joe Mixon and Dallas D just shows up and stops the run, making Stroud throw. It would be cinema. But I'm going right here to his Gabi at 79.5, and I also will have exposure to his rush attempts, which I got at 20.5. They're now 21. because I do believe he's going to get fed. And then I think his anytime tutty goblin is also okay, which is here. And then even his receiving yards. And heck, not even just his normal receiving yards, but his demon receiving yards at 24.5. I think it's absolutely fine, comment guy. Either one of these, or you can mix them up, sprinkle them around, whatever you want to do. Now let's dissect it up. Joe Mixon, look at this matchup. Look at this matchup. You will not find another crispy matchup like this, comment guy. I'm telling you right now, you won't do it. He's gone over in 6 of his last 10. Check this out. Rushing yards allowed, they're ranked 31st. They're dead last. They're dead last. They're literally probably dead last. And then the running back, 26 to running backs, baby. There's one team worse than them, and I don't know who it is off the top of my head, but that's crazy. And I'm sweating bullets right now. But Joe Mixon, when you see all this, you see this, and you know that the Dallas Cowboys are in shambles. I mean, look at this. 25 times, 24 times, 25 times, 25 times. He's just been getting fed all the way since October 20th, and I'm not going to get off this train now. Now that they're in an amazing matchup, like, I'm not getting off of it. If he sells, he sells. Joe Mixon, play of the day, my favorite play at 79.5. Next would be attempts, then the anytime tutty, then the demon receiving yards. I'll have exposure to all of it. I'm not going to go into any more on it. You just got to either ride that train or don't. It's up to you, comment guy. But you could see here, over is 51%, 89.5. The market's starting to come around on it. You could take his rush plus receiving yards at 51%. I mean, my goodness, guys. It's just, he has to eat tonight. I don't see a game script where he doesn't eat. I don't understand it. In fact, this will probably move up to 90, 91. I'm not 100% sure. And then I'm pretty sure I was able to get Brandon Aubrey at 1.5 field goals made before it was a Gabi, which is nice. But I'm waiting for them to put the longest field goal combo up because both of these kickers are him, but they haven't yet. But with that in mind, I do like him to get 1.5 field goals. I like his fantasy score. I like that. This dude can hit from 60 yards out. You know that they're a poverty team. They're going to be desperate for points. The only downside to this is that they are a poverty team. They're going to be desperate for points. Hitting 3 may not help them, so they may just elect to go for it. But other than that, I think it's crispy. So when they put that longest field goal prop up, get in there, or you can just take either one of those. And then the next play that I want to give you is Cooper Rush less. Where are you at, buddy? 19 completions less. Unfortunately, it's starting to pick up steam. I don't like that. But it's not that I hate on the Cowboys or I don't think Cooper Rush is a good quarterback. I just don't think that they even care anymore. They're in shambles. He's going to need to get 20 completions to chalk this. And I mean, just look at the numbers. 13, 13, 8, 1, 0. They were getting boat raced by Philly and they only got 13 completions. I mean, who's he going to throw it to? Now, he's going to chalk this if they decide to throw a lot of little screens and dump offs to Dowdle and stuff like that. That would be the way that this chalks. But if that happens, then so be it. I'm going in the mix on it. I took less. Whatever happens, happens. That's my game script. Mixon runs the rock. Cooper Rush, I hope, isn't on the field too much because the Texans are just running the ball down their throat. And when they do throw, he doesn't get it complete. In addition to that, even though he's going to be throwing all night, I still think his pass yards is too high. I really do, man. It's crazy. 171.5 being too high, but it is. I mean, I watched him last game. I watched him the game. I just haven't seen what I'm looking for. And what I'm looking for is something that tells me he's going to cook, or that he's even capable of cooking. I just haven't seen it. And for that reason, as they say on Shark Tank, I'm out. So that would be my Cooper Rush take. It's not going to be hot take by any means. I'm sure that's very popular. I mean, it is what it is, y'all. And then Nico Collins returns to the ring tonight, and I do believe that you gotta have some exposure to the gent. I need him tonight. I need 20 fantasy points between Lamb and Collins to win my week in fantasy, and if I don't get it, I'm retiring. I'm gonna drop out of the league, and that'll be that. Now, I do have one hot take, and that's Rico Dowdle, 12.5 fantasy score. And don't ask me why, because I couldn't tell you. It's just a gut call, and my gut call tells me that if by somehow they do get a screen pass to him and he breaks it and takes it to the house, or he gets a goal line carry or something like that, I feel like he could get 12.5 fantasy score, because if they can't move the ball through the air, especially if Lamb sits, I feel like Dowdle's going to be eating, like, they're going to have no choice but to feed him. So I think that For that reason, I think you could go there, and then possibly even his rush attempts, even though they're going to be scripted down, like trailing. It's any given Sunday, anything could happen. Houston could come out tonight and lose this game, and we could see an upset. Don't think that that can't happen, because it 100% can. And I think his 13 rush attempts could also be in play. This is my hot take for this game. When I get on live stream later, I'm going to try to find some poverty garbage dumpster dive plays like I always do. The likes of Jalen Brooks, those type of guys, and what have you. We'll break it all down on the live stream, but I did want to give the YouTube faithful something. Joe Mixon is my favorite play. As Lefty said to Donnie Brasco, I die with you, Donnie, and tonight I die with you, Joe Mixon. If you sell tonight, then Captain Crush is losing coin, but I'm in the mix and I'm here for it. This is my advice to you. Take your favorite 2 NBA, your favorite 2 NFL, put them in a 4-man, and also separate them into 2-mans and go from there. Don't be afraid to take gobbies, and also get your Rudy Poo in that live stream today because it's hitting. And if you don't believe me, go back, rewind, and look at that wall of green. Tell them in the comments. Here's the salute. Good luck in all your contests. And as always, my brothers and sisters in Christ, let's crush.